What's going on, guys? How we doing? I'm going to switch the panel here so you guys can see the larger screen. The idea of this podcast, and I have no idea how long it's going to be, we're kind of setting up our off-season schedule in a unique way. So what I want to do is give you guys as much diversity as an audience as we can that's also evergreen and actionable for the weeks to come, but not in a recycled kind of drummed up way where it's like I'm going to go on for an hour on Tuesday and tell you how week 17 is so important for basketball, and then I'm going to release a contest selection video in on Monday, and like I don't want to focus on one element of fantasy or one element of sports, and we're not large enough to do a Q&A yet, but what we do have is the emergence of technology and these kind of like good setup for predictions, and like these chat services are obviously kind of fun, and they do generate, I mean literally do generate conversations. So we could play with this, we can look at some sportsbook stuff. We do have a really cool idea, and that's kind of the outlier for this last show. This is kind of the okay, so we did the best ball, right? And I'm going to introduce the guys in just a minute here. But we did the best ball, and now this is like the kind of the wrap up of it. It's a recap. We can speak on that. It's the recap of the offseason kind of news, and then we'll get into predictions. And like, I almost want to do what we did at the beginning, Gov, if you remember. We did some like DFS kind of constructional videos, like some tutorial videos. And I thought those were some of our best conversations. So I'd like to do some of those. But then we'll get into training camp, and then we'll be pretty much full go. So this is like the last kind of silly show before we set up our predictions and kind of give you guys the forecast of how we're going to structure our podcast in the next couple of months. Donnie, why don't you tell the people what you were thinking in terms of the prediction without giving away the concept? Well, give away the concept, but not the actual content, if you would.
That's gonna
I'm not even sure how to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of lost.
Like I honestly, Logan, for a second, I was like, how are you trying to fit all of this into one? Like, what are you trying to do in this one show? And then you sort of make it like, oh, you're talking about laying out what we're doing over the next 3 months. Like, oh my, like, thanks for springing that on us right now.
Well, I'm not even saying like that we have to be. What I'm saying is a lot of people come in with a structure of like, I'm going to do this in the off season. I'm going to do 150 drafts, or I'm going to do this. I would like us to talk about different ideas and then get the audience involved and get them thinking about different ways to interact with us. So like, this isn't like if you shoot out an idea, Gov, I'm going to hold you to it. Like, this is just kind of a more unstructured way to have NFL discussions or football discussions in general, and kind of put a bow on things like the XFL, because I know we ended that one kind of prematurely, but during the playoff run for the XFL, for example, there just wasn't a lot of variance. Like, there was guys in contests getting zeros but still winning, very profitable, because it was just like you had to have the one guy that did well. And so that's kind of the idea, is we're going to do more prediction-laden show in a couple of weeks, which Johnny has a really cool idea. He doesn't want to give it away. I get it. So I'll just leave it there with that preview. And
well, I mean, that's basically the only way you can say it. Like, we're going to give our predictions for the upcoming season in a show, and we have a plan for it, but it will be coming up.
Fair enough.
Just sort of how we did our predictions last year. We have an idea of how we're going to do that this year, and that'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about that and throw that out there. But that might be for, like, again, we were already talking about doing that like right before training camp. So that is a month or more out.
But I would argue that this is the last kind of lull show that we'll have. This is like the NBA playoffs is pretty much almost over. We don't
Got
really
about 2
cover.
weeks mix of that, yeah.
Yeah, we don't really cover baseball. So like now we can really get into like different DFS kind of like NFL prognostications in terms of how many best balls do the people want to see? Did they like what we did? Looking at those numbers. But this can just be kind of the final wrap up of like all of the ending of the seasons, pretty much the ending of last season for the NFL, the ending of this season. Like we just watched the NBA playoffs. Why don't you give the people an idea what you thought about that? Because I was embarrassed as a basketball fan.
Yeah, like it was a game, but like it wasn't like Boston did not play well in that game. I don't know why they are not showing up, and I blame the coach because I've seen this team try to be good.
That's all you can blame.
like I have never been a believer that Boston is ever going to get over that hill, but like you the coach you got was definitely not someone who was going to help.
I don't care how like big the coaching difference was, but it needed to be exposed. We all knew coming in Joe Mazzulla was not a good coach. I feel like once we got to the series, a lot of Celtics fans that I knew didn't like Joe Mazzulla going into the series, and before that, it's so frustrating as a fan that I had to turn off the game in the third quarter. A playoff game as a Boston. I've never done that in my life.
Yeah, it was definitely background to me, and it was bad from the beginning.
From the beginning. They had no fire at all. Marcus Smart, I mean, he got a technical, was it, in the second quarter? Because he's sitting there yelling at the ref. Jaylen Brown got caught in transition just standing still because he's yelling at a ref in a pivotal game 3? Come on. It's just embarrassing.
So I'm actually asking the computerized software just to test it out what the biggest loss was in NBA history. It was by 73 points. Apparently.
Memphis blew out Oklahoma City a couple of years ago like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was I believe that was a regular season game, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yes,
You'd have to search playoff margin.
So we are talking now. We could do that, but I wanted to because I was pretty sure it was Oklahoma City because I do remember. I thought it was over 60. I did not know it was 73. My point is, even if we just went with a losing margin, right, and we included all the games, like 73 is egregious. They almost lost by 30. You magnify that this is a playoff game. In the Eastern Conference Finals, they
first the 8 seed. By the way, the talent discrepancy in the game, the Celtics win that by
I don't like. This year was totally even. Honestly, this year, no one really blew anyone away. There was a lot of rest. All the teams were basically even. I would not have been surprised if Cleveland got hot and did what Miami's doing.
Well, Gov, I'm glad you brought that up because people can actually go back and listen to our prediction show talking about predictions at the beginning of this podcast. We did an NBA March Madness kind of bracketology, if you will, for this playoff, and you were high on the Miami Heat all the way through it. I'll give you your flowers there. But even I remember me and Donnie both saying this was a very balanced playoff. And that's why I searched losing margin and not playoff margin because, yes, we all agreed that this was a unique year, that, the Miami Heat had a chance, that the Los Angeles Lakers, because of the injuries and all their shuffling, I mean, they literally, I think, added 7 players before their playoff run, like 7 players that were not on the team.
I don't like to get into the exact numbers and whatever, but this playoff run makes Jimmy a first ballot, right? Has to, I think.
I don't think Jimmy has to win the title and then get an NBA first team before he can be first ballot.
Well, the first
he basically has done nothing. He basically was a no name in college, drafted, and then he didn't really do much the first few years of his career in the NBA. But since he's sort of hit his stride the last couple of years, yes, everything he's done like the last 3 to 4 years, I would say would put him close to that. But to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I need to see that for like a decade. And for the first decade of his career, he was not that.
He wasn't bad though. He was still
he was a serviceable NBA player.
I would argue he was borderline all-star. I don't exactly remember.
He was basically Tobias Harris in a different.
He was better. No,
the
he
first
was the number
few
one
years,
option on the
that's
team.
what he was never the number one option on any other team.
I agree.
The
with
He
that.
Bulls?
wasn't the number one option on the Bulls. No, he was on that Bulls team with Derrick Rose.
Yeah, but didn't Rose?
It was
Didn't he have
after
to go
the
with Rose
major,
hurt?
like maybe. I think that was when like Rose never played a full season, but like he still wasn't the number one. And then after that, he goes to Minnesota, where he was probably ready to be the number one, but Cat was there, and they get into a fight, and then they have to trade him. And then he gets to Miami, where he could actually be the number one, but he was not ready to be that early in his career. So now again,
He was a 20-point per game scorer his last 3 years in Chicago.
Right. And that's a serviceably good player. But like that's not like great. He never made anything better than like NBA third team at any point in time.
I agree.
Like, he was a solid NBA player. But since he's gotten to Miami, he has been
He was an
all-star. Like, yeah, he'd been an all-star, but like third team all NBA at the best, maybe second team this year is the best he's gotten, and that's this year. Like, that's the thing. Like, you compare him to the rest of the people in the NBA at the time he's playing, and he's not getting the awards where, like, he's that good. He has only really stepped it up in the playoffs in the
Is
last,
he like a 30-point per game scorer in the playoffs?
Yes. That's why I'm saying, like, if you give him a title and then you get him one good year, he doesn't even have to win MVP. He's just going to be, like, first team All-Pro. So it's like, maybe it'll be the first year LeBron's out of the league. And then your forwards in the first team will be like Jimmy Butler and young dude coming up, like Wembanyama or something in 2 or 3 years. Or something like that, maybe. Like, that'll be when, like, it's because that's probably the big thing is, like, he plays the same position where for him to make an NBA first team, he's got to be better than LeBron, Durant, and Kawhi. That's the biggest problem for him the last few years. So, like, he doesn't get the
he's not a
accolades
regular season player, though.
Exactly. He doesn't do that in the regular season. But by playoff record alone, yes, he is definitely a Hall of Fame. I don't know first ballot just yet, but definitely a Hall of Famer if you go by just playoff record. So, like, he needs to sustain this a little bit. He needs one good regular season, and he needs
to be 35, I believe.
He needs the chip. That's the thing. He needs the chip, the most important.
I think if he gets this series to 6 or 7 against the Nuggets, we're going to presume that that's already locked in. I think that's enough.
I put my prediction in chat for this NBA series. So, yeah, you guys go and look in there. I have both these teams winning, Denver and Miami, and then I have Denver in 7 against this Miami team.
Denver in 7?
Yeah. I think Spo will keep it where Denver's not blowing them out. He'll play them the right way. But I do think Denver has enough right now where Joker can dominate a game, Murray can dominate a game, Porter Jr. can dominate a game, and they can win a series. But it'll take 7 in home court. Like, having that Denver home court and having Jimmy Butler and Bam tired in Game 7 is going to be crucial.
I have to stick by the Lakers pick until they're eliminated because that's what I said. And I still think there's a chance, like, they are good. But that's
beat the Nuggets 4 times in a row with LeBron and Anthony Davis inconsistencies.
They won't lose by 30, Donnie.
Yeah, because I trust LeBron more than I trust Tatum.
Yeah, agree. And that's why I haven't trusted Boston, because I can't trust Tatum as much as I would trust another guy who I can't trust Tatum like I trust LeBron.
And that's pretty sad.
Tatum like I trust Curry.
And you know I'm not a big LeBron guy, but that's my point.
LeBron won't allow them to lose by 30.
Well, my problem with it honestly was the most embarrassing game I have ever watched of any professional sports team, in a playoff scenario ever in my life. It wasn't that the Celtics lost. It wasn't because I'm a big fan of Jimmy Butler. I'm a big fan of Pat Riley.
I think that's a stretch. I think there have been a lot of embarrassing performances.
I'm older than you too, Donnie, so I know the gravity of what I'm saying. Like, if my 5-year-old nephew said it, it wouldn't hold as much weight. I truly believe it was the most embarrassing playoff loss of all time. I've said it before this podcast, so I'll say it on the podcast for transparency. I think everyone in that organization deserves to be fired, or at least you could make the argument they deserve to be fired. For everyone, including the guy that sold the popcorn, the valet, Brad Stevens, the coach. Get rid of Tatum, get rid of Pritchard, get rid of Gill, get rid of the whole thing. And I brought those names up specifically because everyone's going to say head coach, or they're going to say blame it on Tatum, or he doesn't got enough help, or blame it on Smart. No, everybody who wears the Celtics emblem should be embarrassed. They insulted the legacy of Bill Russell, of Larry Bird, of John Havlicek. That's what they did tonight. And it's on the superstars of that team and the organization of that team to know what they did, and they better take the responsibility for it because it was embarrassing. Because in the third quarter, they're down by 15 or 16, and they were shooting threes like it was the big three competition with Ice Cube, and they were retired NBA players. It was embarrassing. Get to the hole. Put the pressure on the referees. Make a call. Slow the game down. Take the crowd out of it. Do something else if it's not working. It was insane. It was insanely stupid effort by the Celtics. It was embarrassing.
They literally from the get-go, it did not look like they cared.
Yeah, they were done. They're kind of done with this.
I need you to get rid of that precursor. I think at that point we can just say they did not care tonight.
I think it's wrong to say, oh, they didn't care. I mean, they've dedicated their life to this. They did care, but it did not show up.
Well,
I don't like to say, oh, this professional who has dedicated their life to something did not care.
But hold on, though. I would say that because you got to remember, even if you're a professional, you dedicate yourself for different reasons. And so some people that play in professional sports are dedicated to the money. Some people do it because...
but I think the Celtics have a lot of people who want to win.
I don't think so. I'm embarrassed. And I don't even want to put you in the car wash of it, Donnie, because I know you're a fan and your emotions are running high. But my emotions are running high as a basketball fan. I truly believe, and maybe it changes a bit in hyperbole, but that's why I'm glad we're doing this podcast and there is an archive to it and we will have a recording of it. I truly believe that was the most embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to say I'm an NBA fan tonight. Truly. Because I don't think this happens in hockey. I don't think this happens in soccer. And we can say, well, Americans don't like those sports or, Canadians will.
Speaking of which, timeout. While we're on the topic of Boston and hockey and the Celtics, how embarrassing that we just had to deal with the Bruins blowing a 3-1 lead after breaking that record of wins in a season. And now we have to deal with the Celtics, who were 2-seed championships last year. And now you're just going to come out here and embarrass you. I'm just so pissed off as a Boston fan.
The Red Sox are going to start to suck soon, aren't they?
The Red Sox are right on pace to miss the playoffs soon because that's what they always do.
Well, I mean, it's early in the baseball season. They could totally do that. But they're probably going to have a shit couple month here and the
Patriots aren't looking like they're going to be making a jump anytime soon. Granted, Gonzalez has looked great from what I've heard, but it's just the point. I don't expect Boston to sit there and just, that we need a great sports teams at all time. And that's just unrealistic as a fan. But you can't consistently embarrass yourself. As a story, I don't.
I mean, the real problem is this Boston team should compete. There's no reason to should.
Bruins
we all
should
had this team
compete.
Losing to Milwaukee. So in essence, they're basically where we thought they would be at, but this is not how we thought they'd be going out. We figured they'd be going out like 3-2 against Milwaukee.
And that's the best player in the
by
world that you're
Miami.
playing against, arguably.
Second best. The best player in the world is playing in the series next.
Well, Jokic has been the best player, but I still give it to Giannis, just maybe out of bias. But it's definitely 1-2 very close, Giannis in my eyes.
Giannis is a freak, and Joker is a 7-foot Luka. Like it's hard to argue.
It
with
really is prick your poison.
It's hard to argue with either.
Joker wins, and Joker, I would already put Joker in the top 15 of best big man of all time. I think he'll go down as the best big man of all time. So
I'm so embarrassed as a fan.
When you guys are speaking of embarrassment, I asked something somebody who doesn't have any emotions at all. I asked the robot if they agreed that Jimmy Butler was the first ballot. And it basically told me that some people consider him a first ballot.
Donnie does. So that's some people. I don't.
Right, exactly.
I'm also another different sum of people.
But I was going to bring that back. But I don't think there's any chance that he's not a Hall of Famer. Right? We're just arguing a first ballot.
And maybe that's minuscule and doesn't matter to most people.
Or is not? Are you saying, Guff, he's not even a Hall of
I
Famer?
don't think he even gets Hall of Fame if he doesn't get a ring. He has to get a ring.
Oh, I disagree.
Yeah, I was going to.
He doesn't get a ring unless he has these kind of playoff series without getting a ring for the next 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he did enough early in his career without a championship where he's not just another dude without a ring. He'd be a really good dude who didn't win a ring, but there's a lot of really good NBA play. Would he really be any
There's
different
a lot
than
of
Patrick
people.
Ewing?
I'd put him ahead of Patrick Ewing.
You'd put him ahead of Patrick Ewing.
I would.
I never got to see him play, so I can't really say anything. I don't like to really say things on too much.
Is he really that much better than Penny Hardaway?
There
were a lot of really good scorers. There were a lot of really good scorers who never could do anything in the playoffs, who were pretty solid and good NBA players, but they even had more NBA first teams and stuff like that.
You have to call a timeout on that.
All right.
Because Penny did it. When Penny made the finals, he was the number 2.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
And this is Jimmy's second finals carrying a team.
Right, but he has
I don't care that the other people are showing up. This is still carrying a team.
No, I
give you that.
He's doing a lot. Okay, I'm trying to. I'm racking through my brain of someone else who has the first thought of my mind is Melo. There's a guy who's been in a lot of playoff series, gotten to a final.
I don't think he's better than Melo.
You don't think Jimmy Butler's better than Melo?
No.
I don't think Melo gets in the Hall of Fame. He's not getting in there right now.
Here's an interesting Melo.
There's your bar. Do you put Melo first ballot Hall of Famer? Because if you don't, then you can't put Jimmy.
Let me finish.
There are plenty of really good NBA. I'm not saying Butler's bad. Just I'm
but
not
I don't call you
was
said
bad.
scorer. I don't call Jimmy. I do not see Jimmy as a scorer.
Well, okay, again, he's been more than a scorer, but 20 points a game is just your average scorer in the NBA. He's been much better on the defensive end too, and he's rounded into this really good player that I believe if he gets a ring and keeps playing this way for another year or two, carrying this Miami team with basically just Bam and some scrubs, if he keeps doing that, then yes, he will be a Hall of Famer. I still don't think that's enough to make him first ballot is a stretch. That means he could retire now with a broken leg and get in the Hall of Fame.
But
he's not that. But he is definitely Hall of Fame bound.
This is why
he just needs the ring. He just needs the ring.
This is why, though, we wait 5 years to give someone a first ballot, or whatever it is.
Exactly. That's why.
Because you need the media hype to go down.
Exactly. I don't agree with baseball, where you have to wait 15 years. So like
And-
you have to wait until an entire generation hasn't ever seen you play before you can get it into the Hall of Fame. That's a little too much. But I do agree there should be like the NFL and them do. You have to be retired solidly for 5 years, and then you're
I don't
eligible.
know. It might not be 5 years in the NBA. I just think it is because I know it's not immediate.
No,
I'm
it
pretty
is. No, in the NBA and the NFL, it's 5 years. But in baseball, it's 15. That's why baseball's so weird to get people in the Hall of Fame, because you can't get in until 15 years after your last game. So, like, again, after 15 years, there's a whole new set of people watching baseball who have never seen you play.
Yeah.
You had to have been really good, and everyone's still talking about you 15 years later to get into the Hall of Fame. That's why, like, from, like, even right now, I think the only guy watching right now who's good getting to the Hall of Fame will probably be Mike Trout. And he probably needs a World Series ring to do it.
Ohtani will
Well,
get in.
Ohtani could, because he'll
Bryce
probably move
Harper
to another
maybe?
team. I don't know if Harper does. Like,
think-
right now. Even, like, maybe
May-
if the Phillies get a title, but they, like, Judge probably will with the Yankees.
But
Right.
Bryce Harper's been really good for very long, at least multiple MVPs. You know.
Yeah. But, like baseball, it's a lot harder, and I think it's also a lot thinner somehow. But that's
Well, we're
because a
talking
lot of
about-
people don't play baseball.
But we're talking about transitors. Like Ohtani is a transitor because he's the first to pitch.
He needs to do it for maybe not that exactly
He
for a
is
long, but he
really
needs to
good,
play
though.
for a long time.
He is really good, though. Like, when he comes out and pitches,
Right.
he is a top pitcher, and he has
So-
solid batting where you want to bat him 3, 4, 5, no problem.
But
Like, it's hard to be both of those things. You're right.
speaking of versatility, though, I guess I know I didn't describe it well, but like that's kind of what I meant at the top of the show was like I wanted this to be kind of a fun kind of combination show because I do think going forward our podcasts are going to be very structured. We're going to have the NFL, our review shows, our lineup builders, but this can just kind of be a fun, rest of night conversation, and it can go as it did. We did end up in a good spot, and I want to prove this point. You guys probably heard me talk about it a lot. So we talked about Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, who's the best. And I told you I hated rankings, but you asked me a question, I'll answer it. I would take Jimmy over Patrick because I'm assuming I'm playing in today's NBA. That's not to say I don't like Patrick Ewing, but if I have to choose, I'm gonna make a choice, just like any general manager would in a draft. And I'll bring up why I asked that question here in a second. But to kind of bring it all together, it's like I don't think we win in these conversations. That's also why I hate Hall of Fames, because like was Sammy Sosa better than Barry Bonds? Maybe, but they kind of played in a steroid era that is at least comparable. But like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, you can't compare that. Bill Russell and Shaquille O'Neal, you can't really compare. So like at some point it's just like generational throwing of apples. It's like who have you seen the most? Who was sexy? Sexy at the moment. Who did you watch the game with your grandma if it was baseball or were you a young girl and watched Serena Williams, and so that matters to you. So all these factors play in. So I just don't like these kind of conversations. But I do think is Jimmy a Hall of Fame? Like I wish in the media we did more things like that instead of divulging it to like, well, if Jimmy's in, this guy has to be out, or like just you know what I'm saying? Like I like that conversation. I like how we handle it tonight.
You know what really frustrates me too about the Celtics
Right.
as a fan? We have to make the strong assumption that Missoula's got to go. I maybe he doesn't. I don't know. In 4 years, going to be 4 coaches possibly in the same core.
Yeah.
That can happen.
That's where it looks like you probably need to split it up. That's where, like I said, if you could, like, and I think if you try to trade one of Tatum or Brown and keep the other and bring in
I would
someone
get rid of
else
Smart too.
and just swap it, I don't think that works. I think we need to get rid of, like, I agree Smart is one of them, but I think you need to get rid of 2 of those 3 between Tatum, Smart, and Brown and bring in what you can. If you could get rid of Brown and Tatum and bring in Luka, do that. If you can get rid of Tatum and Smart and bring in...
And Smart and Derek White would pair well with someone like that, but that's besides the point.
The best thing to do in my mind would be to get rid of Smart and Jaylen Brown and get like a Damian Lillard or someone, really top-end point guard like that to go with Tatum. And then keep the most of that defensive core that you have. Then all you really need to do is grab one other veteran guard that can veteran 3 and D guy to add.
Well,
to
that was supposed to be
because you still have ideally
the guy that got hurt. Gallinari. That was supposed to be Gallinari.
Yeah,
this year.
Yeah, that's really what he's supposed to be. If you have him with this same core, but you switch Jaylen Brown and Marcus
take Al
Smart
Horford out in
Lillard.
the situations that he wasn't able to hit his three.
But Donnie, that's also where I gotta call.
But really, you probably need a cheaper, younger dude. Like if you could replace Al Horford with John Collins from Atlanta, that'd probably be the best thing to do. Figure out how to do that, and then flop Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart for a really top end point guard. Whether it be I think Cleveland likes Donovan Mitchell, so you're not getting him or Garland. I think Dame would work. Like I said, if you could go, I'd be willing to give up Tatum and Smart to get Luka, or Tatum and Brown to get Luka, in that, and see if you could make that work. I'm trying to think of another good guard that would be available.
While you do that, let me bring this full circle and incorporate.
Do you pull the trigger on the Bradley Beal thing and just try something new?
If I'm doing that, I'm totally blowing it up, and I'm trading for the guys from Houston. I'm trading Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart for Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, and starting over.
Yeah,
I'm doing something like that.
Because to your question, Donnie,
I don't care if it works. I just need to see something.
Well, to your question, Donnie, it's like Jeff Saturday, right? If you're going to do something so unique to try to generate, power, you got to go to the power plant. Otherwise, you got to go with Gov saying you got to go more traditional. I don't think you can middle, and I think that's what the Celtics have tried to do. They've tried to middle this, we'll bring in a veteran, but then we'll also develop a Pritchard, or we'll develop a Grant Williams.
Well, I don't think they cared about developing Pritchard ever.
No, but okay.
No, but they've been trying to keep these younger guys. They tried to
get Tyree Hayward, Tatum, which we couldn't expect him to make the jump. And at the time, Jaylen Brown wasn't looking like he was going to progress into that guy.
Well,
he did not look like a number 2 when we made those moves.
No, but once you got him, he showed that he could be. And you were able to make him into that. You were able to build Smart. Derek White has been the one solid bench dude you have, and he's only meh. But
Brogdon's
then
again,
no, but Brogdon is a signing. You didn't bring up
Williams. And do you count Williams as a bench dude or no?
He's a bench. Well, he's your guy.
Robert.
He's your bench guy,
right,
and not a dude you brought in.
He's
to be off. He's your homegrown. But that's the thing. Like Logan's saying, you have it should be a decent mix, but at this point, you are trying to go for a title. This is where, if you're really trying to go for the title, you start getting rid of some of those homegrown guys to get more Brogdons. You should have also flipped Derek White and Grant Williams for another wing.
100%.
I was fine with keeping Derek White because we just got him and he played well when he was there.
He just, like I said, yes, but he is one of your
Donnie.
You can do better. You can do better.
Pritchard would play well in the Chinese basketball league, but that doesn't mean he's the right fit for the NBA professional Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference.
Derek White fits the system very well, though. He's a defensive guard who can come out and hit shots.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's your most solid bench guy. But then
Right.
the rest of
when
your,
we got
but then the
Derek White,
rest
I
of your
wanted to put
homegrown
Smart.
guys that you have, your Grant Williams, and then when you have to go thinner, your Sam Hauser, your Luke Cornett, you don't have anyone else. Like your guys you brought in are Blake Griffin, and like if you had Gallinari, that would be something.
Yeah,
I've
it was
seen
supposed to
Gallinari
be
play.
Gallinari. It was
But
supposed
that's what
to
you
be
were missing.
him.
And when he was hurt and you didn't have him and you didn't make a move at the trade deadline to like, even if
Right.
it meant giving up Derek White, it would have been more beneficial having Smart and Brown, knowing you can go big with Robert Williams and Horford at the 4-5. It would have been more beneficial to go out and get us. Like, you should have been the one getting Sadiq Bey from Detroit, not Atlanta.
Right.
Like that, those moves that could have been made by Boston and were not.
And I know
Because the coach didn't push it, because the GM, the ownership wasn't looking for it. They thought you had it, and you fudged it. That's what I saw.
Well, you can be the mediator here, Gov, and I don't mean this to be like a Celtics Lakers thing, but the Celtics should have been just as aggressive as.
Hold on, timeout.
Like if
The
the league
Lakers
was rigging
sucked,
anything, they would
and that's
want Lakers Celtics.
But
The Lakers sucked, and they had to make moves.
Boston sucked too, because look at it. They just lost by 30 points, Johnny. That's what I'm saying. Is you're living
The Lakers would have missed the playoffs if they didn't make moves.
So what does it matter?
Yeah, if they don't go and get Rui, they miss the playoffs. I agree.
I agree. But the Celtics,
But that's the thing. The Lakers did the right thing to make a shot, knowing that if you get in the playoffs with LeBron and AD, you are as good as any other team out there most nights. And they've run that up until they ran into the MVP, who is pissed off that you didn't give him his MVP.
I'm not arguing that you're not right, Donnie. What I'm saying is like there's no difference between.
Logan, I've been asking for a Smart trade since we got Derek White.
I know.
I wanted to trade Smart.
I know. That's what I'm saying is at least the Lakers have the balls to do it. The Celtics sat on their hands, not just this season, but many seasons when they.
Well,
knew
what was
they
his
knew
name?
something
Why
else.
can't I think of his name? The GM before Brad Stevens.
You talking about
Danny Ainge.
Danny Ainge?
Danny Ainge, the guy who's running Utah now and has stripped it down and has a shit ton of picks and okay players with Lauri Markkanen and that.
The same thing again.
Oh yeah, Utah's going to be amazing in 4 years.
No, but he's going to.
All they need is one good drafted player.
That homegrown talent.
Oh
It's
no,
gonna
yeah,
be the same
he's
thing.
going to keep trading guys. He's going to draft decent players and keep trading them away for picks. And he's going to have one draft where he has like 3 first-round picks. And somehow they're all going to be top 12 first-round picks. And probably the number 1 overall.
In Boston, we made the mistake of hiring a coach who has very, very close ties to these players, their families. That's why he won't, make those moves, most likely.
Yeah.
He likes his guys. He really likes his guys.
And that can be a problem. Like, now, you had a decent core that should have been able to do it.
This is what we were worried about. When he was hired, this was what the questions were. Oh, is he going to overpay certain guys? Is he going to make these moves that don't make much sense to get a guy like Al Horford back, which worked, but it was questionable at the time. I was coming off OKC.
I love this conversation. I didn't know we were going to spend such a long time on this central topic, but I do think it's widespread in terms of all sports. And like we mentioned, hockey, and we've mentioned other things off of this topic. Can I just bring up, though, my draft example of the robot here? I just picked a random year as you guys were talking, and I typed in NBA best draft pick from 2000, right? Just picked a random one as you guys were talking.
You picked one of the worst drafts in NBA history.
Right. I literally didn't.
It said that.
Yeah.
It said one of the worst drafts in
NBA. It
NBA.
says that. And if I admitted to knowing that ahead of time, obviously I would look not transparent. I did not. I just picked a random number.
I think the only one who's still in the league is Kenyon Martin on Houston.
No, they're talking about Kenyon Martin that played for the New Jersey Nets, so definitely not still in the league.
All that one is retired. I think
The
this is the 2000 draft. Yeah, he
Donnie,
is.
That's actually, I think
that was 23 years ago. You're right. Yeah, my bad. That's Kenyon Martin Jr. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. No. This old. Yeah. No.
Here's my point.
Michael Redd. Oh my God.
Here's my point with this.
That's the only name I recognized on that.
I wanted to bring this
You don't
up.
know Jamal McGlure?
Well, that's why I wanted to bring that up, Donnie, because I do think like we can have the Celtics conversation without making it Celtics radio for the last like 15
Well, that's what I
years.
was trying to bring the Jazz up for.
Right.
Well, I mean, I guess we can
Well-
go the other way. I kind of called this wrong. I had Heat in 6. It looks like Heat in 4.
I think we're onto a great conversation though, and I want to continue it. I just want to make it more evergreen. Are we seeing a changing of the guard where it's like the traditional franchises were perceived to be something, right? Or is this just a rant? Because we've never seen it, they said on the
The
broadcast.
Packers. We see it in football all the time.
Well, hold on though. But just to get this statistic out, we've never seen two teams in the finals respectively get swept in the same year. We've never seen that in NBA history. But that doesn't mean that it's like a good stat or like it even means anything. Just like the NBA 2000 draft.
Well, okay. I would like to finish your thought, but then I want to throw something out there.
Well, I mean, like, do we remember Michael Redd was even drafted in this draft? I mean, Donnie probably might not even know who
I
that
didn't.
is.
I couldn't
I
have
know
told
who
you
Michael
2000,
Redd is.
no. Yeah,
But-
I couldn't have told you it was.
That's
drafted
probably
in
the only
2000.
player I know
Right.
from 2000 is
But
Michael
Michael
Redd.
Reed was as good, if not better, than Chris Middleton. Had big moments, and so that's my point. It's this game was historically bad, right? Embarrassing. Does this game stick with Jason Tatum? Does this game stick with the Celtics, or does this just become that bad year where the Celtics lost by 30, or
Okay.
does it like become historic?
But Logan, here's the thing. As a Celtics fan, this is normal for us right now. Like the Celtics have come out for the past this whole era of Celtics. It's been okay. Eastern Conference Finals. Okay. That's the limit. This is what we're used to as fans right now.
Well, okay. So like, let me get this thought out because I'm thinking about it, and tell me how much you guys think you see this correlation, or if my brain's just going crazy.
Mhm.
But a lot of the Eastern Conference this year in the playoffs, I think, has been decided by the coaches. Whereas in the Western Conference, I think it has been decided by the talent. Where normally you would default to the best players will get you there and win.
Estimating how good Mike Malone is.
Like,
I think-
maybe, but he also has the greatest player on the planet currently and in the playoffs still. But like, and we may also be estimating like maybe Darvin Ham is the reason the Lakers have been able to do all this stuff and be good in the playoffs. But I also trust that it's been LeBron and AD. I trust that they were able to get them over a Steph Curry, and Steph Curry was good enough
Pretty
talent
close.
to get them over the Sacramento team,
Yeah.
and that Monty Williams and Durant were good enough to get you over that Clipper team, but then they're definitely losing to Denver in that. So like, it's like talent. It's like Durant lost to Joker, LeBron beat Curry. That's how I see it. But in the Eastern Conference, Butler's been amazing, but Spo has this team playing amazing. Doc lost that series for Philly against Boston. Budenholzer probably didn't deserve it, but he was the one they were criticizing at the end of that game in Milwaukee. Like, do we really think, like, is Tibbs really going to get another year running these fucking Knicks into the ground? Like, I would say the Eastern Conference this year has been determined by the coaches, whereas the Western Conference has been determined by the talent. I think a different coach on some of those Western Conference teams, you still get the same outcome.
Well, here's the thing.
I think a different coach on Denver, I still think they run through over Mike Malone. I do.
Joe Mazzulla, probably the worst coach in the playoffs for the whole playoffs.
Maybe. And Boston probably Boston should have beaten Atlanta sooner than they should. And then they probably should have lost to Philadelphia if it wasn't for Doc Rivers. And now they're getting mud stomped by Miami and Spo, who may be the best coach left in the playoffs.
He's making a real case for being best.
Like, you work your way out of the film room to be a coach, and a guy like Pat Riley, who's been a coach and been an owner, is like, Yeah, he can run the team. He can be the coach. That's fine. Like that, yeah. Spo has all the faith in the world in himself, and he had a decent backing, and he has proved it.
Isn't that all you want though? Because like I'll give you another example that's relevant, like that will also hold true for a while as we put a bow on the NBA. Victor Wembanyama, who is obviously going to be the number one pick for the Spurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
I forget what mainstream pundit said it. It was one of the like main guys who's been in the industry
Well,
for
Tim
like,
Duncan is expected to be at the practices with Wembanyama most of the time, I guess.
who's that?
Tim Duncan supposed to be coming back with the Spurs to help Wembanyama.
It makes sense. I know. Kareem
He
Abdul-
has coaching history.
Yeah, Kareem comes to help Lakers big guys when they can. Like,
yeah, especially Andrew Bynum. Like they had the same hopes, with him teaching him the skyhook, for example. The reason I bring him up though is, I lost my. Oh yeah, here's the point. So it was Chris Broussard, who used to work for ESPN, I think now works for FSN. He said that if Victor is not AD, Kevin Durant, I forget the other player he said, it's a failure. And I'm like, at what point do we reach this expectation against reality ramrod, whether it be are the Lakers and Celtics historically the best teams? Like, are they still currently good teams? Like, do we owe anything to legacy? Or is the Cinderella story of a Heat, or like a team like Oklahoma City who has like, all these young talent, or like even Orlando building. Like, what if Orlando is good? Like, are we supposed to say, oh no team can be good in Orlando? That's the Disney World. Like, I'm so sick of this. Like, we have to declare something, and we can't just enjoy it for the moment. The Celtics could come back in this series.
they very well could. I could see him winning 2 in a row right now.
They honestly
Making
could
it
come back in
3-2.
this series, and us as sports fans should enjoy that ride if it happens. But that can be true, but also it can be true tonight that it was an embarrassing display. Just like to say, if Victor isn't AD or Kevin Durant, it's a failure. Like, do you know how many bad first round picks there are? Like, and
Well,
for
you
different
know what I
reasons.
really hate too? People are talking about how Wembanyama's best prospect ever, biggest prospect since LeBron. First of all, he's nowhere near LeBron's level of prospect wise.
Don't even say that though, Donnie. He doesn't like.
But I just don't like, and then people forget how big Zion was, just because Zion hasn't lived up to that hype.
But Donnie,
So.
the whole point is like, don't do this like legacy. Whether you're right or wrong, just enjoy it, man. Like, I should be pissed that it was embarrassing as a basketball fan for this game tonight. Like, it was an embarrassing performance, but I will be happy if I see a comeback from the Lakers or the Celtics, just because I don't think that's ever been done either. So just like we might see historic.
Oh, and 194, I think it is. Probably going to be a 196.
What if the Lakers and the Celtics both came back in the same series and won? Like,
Then everyone would just say it's rigged.
You're not fucking wrong there.
that's my point, Donnie. Is like, look at the recent activity of the chat I'm on right now. It's a robot. It doesn't know it. It records what I say. But I think as sports fans, we're never happy. We're always like, we're just chasing a narrative, and it's like, just enjoy it. Like, I pulled up the best rankings by the robot, and the robot gave us all good names. Now, we could make arguments, it brings up.
It gave you Embiid, Durant, and where's fucking Joker? Fuck this.
Yeah, right,
Oh, fuck
right.
the AI. I'm done with this AI bot.
Right.
Oh,
now, everyone knows I'm the biggest Joker fan in the world. So, like,
you better ask it. Why didn't you say Joker's the best player in the world?
they'll give me some Batman reference. But
I would. I'm sure. It probably would if you said Joker.
right. So, but we'll wrap up here. I just wanted to
I
have
was
that
gonna say, yeah, we're kind of running in circles at this
Oh
point.
wow, we did go almost an hour. Yeah.
I really just wanted to have that conversation because I thought it was organic. What is the one thing that you were looking forward to, though, getting more structured? Like coming NBA season next year, we are going to maybe we're not a huge podcast, but like at that point, we're almost probably going to be a year in with the three of us. We'll have more synergy, we'll have more chemistry. Like, what's the one thing that you think we can grow from? I know we did some.
I
NBA
know when we hit our 3-year mark, or sorry, 1st-year mark.
What's
I
that,
can tell
Dan?
you, it's late in September.
Yeah,
Well,
I
don't
say,
have the
didn't you
exact
start
date.
like week
Late September.
like week 3
Week 2.
or
Week
week
2.
2 or 3? Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to run the NBA best ball back.
I agree with that. I was gonna say I was looking forward to hopefully doing another best ball with you guys for NBA.
Okay, last question, Gov. Do we get NBA rainmakers next year?
I doubt it. NBA is really strict with their stuff, and I think they already have the likenesses sold out to someone else. So I doubt it. I think
heard that.
Rainmakers is only now. It's not impossible, but I doubt it.
I would agree with you.
I think PGA is good. I like their Rainmaker stuff for that. I think UFC is solid. As like the key is, I don't know how UFC cards burn per like being able to because fighters don't really have a season, so like that seems like the best one because a fighter should be good forever. It's just how many times a year will you really get to use them? 2, maybe 3, 4 at the very most. If that guy it does a fight every 3 months.
See, I just think there's so many different ways to attack and enjoy things, and like that, I guess that'd be the last topic to bring it all together. Just don't be so beholden. Try a basketball draft. Try different things. Like Donnie's not gonna not watch the Celtics win or lose next game. He can still be mad about this performance. So this wasn't good, but I think this podcast is good. Want to keep it under an hour. I do think we had a good discussion. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. We will be bringing more NBA content, but this was kind of like our thank you to the Eastern and Western Conference because like as the games go on, it's similar to the XFL. It just gets harder and harder to come up with nuance. And so I thought that tonight was a good night to do this. Thanks guys for joining me. Any last things?
Go Celtics.
You gotta believe until it's over, Don. You never know. Like you could be historic.
I want to come out here and you got to put up a fight.
The heat is on. It's on the street. The heat is on.
The copyright strike. I'm striking you.
I said LeBron James never went to college, so maybe this is like his one and done. Like he'll just embrace the March Madness like atmosphere, and he'll take the team all the way to the national championship game. Who knows? But we'll be here for it regardless. Good night, guys.
Night.